Hello, my name is Max. I'm very happy to present do Hexad user types matter effects of non-personalized gamification on task performance and user experience in an image tagging task, which is work I did together with my co-authors Berina, Zenuni, Hanne, Spelt, Thierry, Jegen, Pascal, Lessel, and Krüger. So when we look at examples of gamification, the use of game elements in non-game contexts, like fitness applications for instance, we can see that gamified systems mostly use a static set of gamification elements, like for example points or badges. However, past research has clearly demonstrated that preferences for gamification elements differ substantially across users, rendering a high importance to personalization approaches to select suitable gamification elements for users. Consequently, quite a few player and user typologies have emerged, and research has investigated the relationship between several factors such as personality traits or age and the perception of gamification elements. However, none of these existing typologies have been specifically developed for gamification, and most of these typologies had issues regarding their psychometric properties. The Hexad model improves upon these aspects. It's the only model targeting gamification settings and comes with an empirically validated questionnaire, which does not require game-specific knowledge. It consists of 6 user types, which differ in the degree to which they are driven by their needs for autonomy, relatedness, competence, and choice, as defined by self-determination theory. Free spirits like acting without external control and express themselves. Achievers are motivated by competence and like to overcome obstacles. Players seek to earn extrinsic rewards, and socializers are interested in social interaction and communicating with others. Philanthropists are socially minded, like to bear responsibility and support others without expecting a reward. And lastly, disruptors like to disrupt gamified systems to achieve negative or positive changes for others or themselves. To better understand the practical relevance of using Hexad user types to personalize gamified systems, we were interested in finding answers to the research question, does receiving suitable or unsuitable gamification elements based on Hexad user types in an implemented system have actual effects on user experience and behavior? So what is novel about this? Well, it's these two parts of the research question, implemented system and actual effects. Why? Because past research has mainly investigated potential correlations between the perception of gamification elements and Hexad user types based on surveys by using storyboards or textual descriptions of gamification elements. Although such studies provide important insights regarding self-reported perception, participants were never exposed to the system and thus had to imagine how gamification elements might work. So in this paper, we were interested in actual effects on motivation and behavior instead. To investigate this, we implemented an image tagging platform. This was done in many studies in the past to investigate basic research questions in gamification research. On this platform, we could dynamically enable up to 5 gamification elements. We made sure to have at least one suitable gamification element for each user type based on past research. So badges should be suitable for achievers, points and leaderboard for players and socializers, a virtual character for philanthropists, and unlockable items for free spirits. The fact that we could dynamically activate and deactivate gamification elements on the platform allowed us to conduct a laboratory study with 3 conditions within subjects design. So first, participants were asked to fill out the Hexad questionnaire, and we assessed baseline measures for the physiological data. Next, they went through 3 conditions in random order in which they were asked to tag 10 images each. In a control condition, no gamification elements were activated, while in the tailored gamification condition, we activated gamification elements being suitable for the highest Hexad user type. In contrast, in the contra tailored condition, we activated gamification elements being relevant for the Hexad user type in which participants scored the lowest. After each condition, participants were asked to answer the intrinsic motivation inventory, the positive and negative effect schedule, and the activity flow state scale. Also, we captured which and how many tags participants provided in each condition. We had the following main hypotheses. More detailed hypotheses can be found in the paper. So first, we expected that task performance, the number and quality of tags, differs between conditions. Second, we expected that user enjoyment measured by the intrinsic motivation inventory should also differ. Third, we also assumed that affective experiences should be different between conditions, and this was measured by the positive and negative effect schedule, as well as by looking at physiological data such as skin conductance responses, skin conductance level, heart rate variability, and skin temperature. Lastly, we assumed that the prevalence of flow experiences differs between conditions. This, again, was measured by combining physiological data and the activity flow state scale. So what did we find? I will only present main findings, so for more details, please check out the paper. First, we found a significant effect between conditions regarding tag count and tag quality. The number of tags was significantly higher in both the tailored but also the contra-tailored condition than in the control condition without gamification, with no effects between the tailored and the contra-tailored condition. The same was found for tag quality. Thus, we replicate prior research as we also show that gamification independent of personalization has an effect on task performance in an image tagging context. We also found significant effects regarding the physiological measures, so skin conductance responses and normalized skin temperature were significantly higher in both gamified conditions than in the control condition. Regarding the effect of personalization, we found that the enjoyment factor of the intrinsic motivation inventory was significantly higher in tailored gamification than in contra-tailored gamification. However, no effect between tailored gamification and control was found. Regarding positive effect, we found that contra-tailored gamification was significantly lower than tailored gamification, and interestingly, even significantly lower than control. Again, no effect between control and tailored gamification was found. Lastly, regarding flow experiences, we only found an effect on 1 out of 9 factors of the activity flow state scale. The score of the emergent action and awareness factor was significantly higher in tailored gamification than in contra-tailored gamification. Thus, we can conclude that using tailored gamification elements can lead to higher enjoyment, higher positive effect, and an increased absorption in the task compared to contra-tailored gamification. Moreover, contra-tailored gamification can have detrimental effects, indicated by a significantly lower positive effect in contra-tailored gamification than in control. So what do these results mean for our hypotheses? Well, H1, H2 and H3 were supported by the data. For H4 it's a little bit more complicated, since we only found an effect on one dimension of flow and only between tailored and contra-tailored gamification. Therefore, we consider this hypothesis as partially supported. To sum up, we were interested in better understanding whether receiving suitable or unsuitable gamification elements based on Hexad user types has an effect on user experience and behavior. And the short answer to the research question would be yes. A more detailed answer would be that we found that enjoyment, positive effect, and absorption in the task was significantly higher in tailored gamification than in contra-tailored gamification. But it is also important to consider that we could not find a difference regarding performance between tailored and contra-tailored gamification, and that we found no effects regarding enjoyment, effect, and flow between tailored gamification and control. A discussion on this can be found in the paper. So in sum, it seems like using unsuitable gamification elements are detrimentally affecting measures of enjoyment, effect, or flow, rather than suitable gamification elements overly increasing these measures. This is an interesting finding and might explain some of the detrimental effects of gamification reported in past research. And with this, I'd like to conclude this talk and thank you for your attention.